kind of weird to have that moment where I'm like willing to admit that I'm ready to move on to the next thing, and I'm moving out of this bus. And I don't know how to feel about that. I don't see that's wasted space. You could easily make that a good storage.
Yeah, I was trying to cut a groove in it, so I put a screwdriver in it. This one is basically loose.
Well, that's a weird feeling. This is such a weird feeling. The last time I saw these cabinets completely empty was the day that I moved in, and, well, empty. Tried to explain what I'm trying to explain like 10 times, but yeah, it's true. I'm moving out of this bus. Which is really surreal because like 3.5 years of adventures and travels and people and experiences. I mean, I've never moved out of anything before in my life, especially something that means so much to me as this bus. So I don't even know if this is a good explanation of how I feel. But I have to get my stuff out and at least start doing that. But yeah, you just have to start doing it. So I guess I'll start with my clothes and get on out. The race is over.
Race is over, weekend's over. Oh, that stinks. That was great.
Wake up, guys.
I don't want
Luke, wake up.
I'm awake.
Early morning hike. Aren't you excited?
Navi became an old man! 200,000 miles! Luke! 200,000 miles! Whoa. You guys are the worst. This marks, I think it was 38,000 miles on the bus. Trail update, about 4 miles in, across all these little rivers and brooks. We made it to the river and we're gonna cross it. We're not sure we're gonna cross it today or tomorrow, but we're gonna go check it out. So many of you know, actually first, I'm currently sitting on my nature's head. I'm just about to clean it, so I don't know why, I just had nowhere to sit. But I want to explain a little bit how I got to this bus and moving out of it. When I first started this whole bus adventure and living on a bus, the idea was navigation nowhere. And the idea of that was actually never navigation nowhere, it was navigation nowhere or now here. But it basically revolved around the idea of presence, and that I lived in a mobile vehicle, so I had nowhere to be, but where I was, I wanted to be present with the people that I was with. So nowhere to be, but I'm currently now here where I am. And it never was supposed to be just a bus. Previously, before living in the bus, I used to actually live in a car. I lived on the streets of Philadelphia for a little bit for my master's thesis, and I also spent a good bit of time just backpacking. And I always had a plan to adventure through many different types of things. This bus just became such an important thing to me that I just never left. And I think now is the time where I finally feel that I'm ready to move on to that next adventure. So I feel like if I'm gonna properly explain why exactly I'm leaving this bus, transitioning into this house for like a week or two, and then moving into something that I actually just bought, is that I need to go back to kind of the beginning of how I ended up on this school bus and what the idea of it was. And I think explaining the idea behind this school bus will also partially explain why I'm choosing to transition into something else. So I'm a firm believer in the idea that a space is designed for a specific reason, and that people, when they design these spaces, have an idea in their head of how it's gonna be lived in. And in terms of this bus, I built this bus to have people live with me. So I wanted roommates, I wanted to go on travels, I wanted to go on adventures, but I didn't want to do it alone. The whole idea was to be picking people up along the way, inviting friends that I haven't talked to in a while, and just kind of using this bus as a way to reconnect with people that have been in my life in the past and people that I don't even know yet. And not to say that that function is changing, but I think that the way in which I choose to travel and the way in which I'm looking to travel in the future and engage with people and communities is shifting, which essentially starts to make it feel like this bus just isn't right for me anymore. Not that this bus isn't everything I want it to be, it's just that as my lifestyle changes, so does the function of the thing that I need to live in. So the amount of memories that I have of potlucks, shoving 65 people in this school bus at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, driving around the country, roommates, adventures, hiking, I don't regret any of it. And I am thankful that this bus was a character in everything that I've done. It's just that I think that there's more people out there that I want to meet, more adventures that I want to go on, and I think that means it's time to move on. It's actually kind of funny, if you really think about it, most people live in their first house, you know, for a few years they sell it, they move on to another one. And I don't know why that'd be any different with living in a school bus, you know. This was kind of just my first house, and I think now is that transition time into the next thing, the next phase of life, and also the next creation, because I also just really want to build something new. Yeah, perfect. We've had 6 feet. That's what we planned. Every time you go to Home Depot or any hardware store and you think you have everything, you always forget that one thing.
Right up to here. Okay, so all I have to do is go underneath here like that and pull it out.
Killing it, man.
How you doing? You getting ready to move out of the bus, or what are you doing?
I'm trying to explain how I feel about moving out of the bus and a little bit about why I'm moving out of the bus and moving on to the next thing.
Because it's time, man. He's not leaving the schooly community. He's just moving on to a new phase in his life. It's taken him 3 years to, you know, decide to move on. The next thing, it may only take him 6 months. That's what life is about.
I think he actually made a really good point there. It feels really emotional to me about leaving. It feels really crazy. It feels weird. There's a lot of things that go on within transitions, but I think he just nailed it on the head. It just feels like time to move on to the next thing, build the next thing, go on the next adventure. I just think that, like Dale said, life is experience, and sometimes there's just stages and you gotta move on to the next one. So thank you, Dale, for your wisdom. But we gotta keep moving out of here because time is a-ticking. So I've got to say that this has possibly got to be one of the hardest edits I've had to make. Not necessarily because it was hard to make, more because it just took a lot of thought and energy and emotion to kind of put it together, not only just for those of you who have been following me for the last 3.5 years, but also for those who have been a part literally on my bus of the adventures. And with this, I know that there's probably tons of inevitable questions that come up, and just a few of them I'd like to answer. So the first question that's probably in your mind is, what's happening to the bus? I never stated what I'm actually doing with it. And the answer for now is my parents are retiring, and both my parents were such a great help in teaching me the things I know to be able to build my bus that I wanted to kind of give back to them and let them use it. So my parents are actually going to be taking the bus on a couple trips, and so it's not going to be just parked or something. But that leaves me with not living in anything. So I actually, yesterday of filming this, bought something. But I couldn't actually be there to buy it because I'm currently on the West Coast and I have to fly east to go pick it up. But my dad actually bought it and closed the deal for me after I found it, and
Morning, everyone. Michael gave me a call last night and asked me to check something out for him. So I grabbed my morning cup of coffee and hit the road. Wait till you see what he's up to.
so I haven't even seen nor looked. All I did was see an online posting, and I just had an impulse decision and said, you know what, that's it. This is what I'm doing. So thank you, Dad, for going to look at it and closing the deal. I am going to be getting on a plane tomorrow morning to go actually pick it up. So I am just so excited to make this next step. You know, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been a part of the last 3.5 years. And just so you know, I'm very excited for whatever 3.5 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever I am blessed with to be on the road in this new thing. So thank you. We currently don't have service, and it looks like we lost our turbo. So hopefully by the time you guys see this, we found some help. But just to show you what kind of time we're having, I am walking next to the bus. We got about 20 miles to go, but we'll make it. How's it going there, Luke? Well, you heard it here first. It's going great. Well, we figure we might as well show you what's wrong. Right about there, the turbo went. But we'll make it to town, hopefully. Currently we have a ghost driver because we're going so slow.